Hello and welcome to this lecture. Today we are going to discuss about the clinical uses of opioid analgesics. So let's discuss. So when we talk about initially in the start of the lecture, I mentioned that the clinical use of opioid analgesic are mainly for treating the pain and especially cancer associated pain, because the pain associated with cancer is quite severe. So in this case we can give them. So I mentioned here the pain associated with cancer and other terminal illness must be treated aggressively and often require multidisciplinary approach for effective management. Such condition may require continuous use of potent opioid analgesics and are associated with some degree of tolerance and dependence. So it means that if patient having severe pain, unbearable pain because of the cancer or sometimes accident or trauma, physical trauma, then in these severe cases we need to give morphine. But again, you need to understand that if, for example, we giving morphine to the patient that is severely ill because of the cancer or because of the severe injuries, will the patient get addicted to that morphine? That's my question to you. So I need your answer in that perspective, because if a patient is severely suffer from the cancer, whether we giving morphine will affect them after, for example, patient get recovered from the cancer or severe illness, whether the patient will get addicted to morphine or heroin. That's my question to you. So I will put in the discussion board. I need your comments on that. So the clinical uses of opioid analgesics, that it is used, for example, the new doses form of opioids can allow the slow release of the drug are now available. Like we have sustained release form of morphine, and we have MS-cotin or oxycodone is the example for sustained release, because in these cases we need slow release of the drug for longer duration, because cancer patient may be need for longer duration, not for the short action. So for the long duration and long and stable effect of the morphine or opioids, we could make these drugs like oxycontin, and these drugs having longer and stable effects. However, there are little evidence to support the long-term greater than 6-month use of sustained release opioids to manage the chronic pain in the non-cancer patient. If disturbance of the gastrointestinal function prevent the use of oral sustained morphine, then phenylethyl can be used for long-term periods. So we are talking about another drug that can be given if morphine is not working, and the drug is actually fentanyl. And fentanyl actually also used as misuse in people that are addicted to different drugs. So fentanyl, but medically it is also used as replacing morphine for longer, for chronic longer effect. When we talk about chronic pain for longer durations. Opioids also have some other function like obstructive labor or for minimizing neonatal depression, and we for these conditions we can give, because opioids can cross a placental barrier and reach to fetus. Care must be given to minimize the neonatal depression. And if it occurs, then obviously we need to give antagonists like naloxone we mentioned before to reverse the action of depression. Then we have another drugs like phenylpiprine, like meperidine, which appears to produce less depression, and especially particularly respiratory depression in newborn infants, and then compared to the morphine, and may justify the use in obstetric practice. So the meperidine is the other nowadays more commonly used drug in these cases. So the dose that has been mentioned here is the oral solution in dosing range from 50 milligram to 150 milligram orally every 3 to 4 hours as need for the pain. Then for acute severe pain of the renal or biliary colic often requires strong agonist opioids for relieving the pain, and in this case we can give the drugs. However, the drug induced can increase the muscle tone, smooth muscle tone, may cause paradoxical increase in pain to secondary increase of the spasm, and can increase overdose can usually used for providing adequate analgesia. So it is also used for the treatment of pulmonary edema. So the relief produced by intravenous morphine in patient with dyspnea, which is known as shortness of breath from pulmonary edema, which is associated with along with the left ventricular heart failure, is in these cases we can give. The proposed mechanism could be that it reduce the anxiety, and by reducing the anxiety we reducing the perception of shortness of breath, or for example effect on the cardiac preload like reducing the venous tone, and afterload like decrease of the peripheral vascular resistance. So how these drugs are affecting for example relieving patient having acute pulmonary edema is like by reducing the preload and afterload and reducing the anxiety, that could be helpful in treating such kind of patient. So when we talk about clinical use of opioid analgesic for acute pulmonary edema, but the problem is that if patient having respiratory depression, then we cannot give these drugs. Then the replacing drugs other than that is furosemide will be preferred in case of patient having respiratory depression, because we already know that opioid can cause respiratory depression. So in these cases when patient already have respiratory depression, we can give furosemide for the treatment of pulmonary edema. And we already mentioned that how it can helpful in reducing the pulmonary edema by either reducing the anxiety or by reducing the cardiac preload or afterload. So we can give. So we mentioned also that on the other hand that morphine can be particularly useful in treating patient with myocardial ischemia with pulmonary edema. But we have to clearly in mind that if patient having respiratory depression, we cannot give them. But without that, on the other side, if patient don't have any respiratory depression, we can treat the patient with myocardial ischemia and along with pulmonary edema if patient having both diseases. It is also used for treating the cough, as we mentioned that codeine and hydrocodone can be used for treating the cough syrup. In different cough syrups we have, but nowadays we try to avoid these drugs because we know that it could cause dependency, and now we have many synthetic compounds that are available that have not been addictive properties. It is also used for treating diarrhea, and if you remember in one of our lectures I mentioned loperamide, which is also belong to the same classification but having no effect of addiction and dependence. So same opioid also has been used and discussed before in our previous lecture for treating the diarrhea. So mentioned here it is used for treating the diarrhea except diarrhea associated with infection. So we mentioned some crude preparations like paregoric, but now synthetic I already mentioned like loperamide we discussed in our previous lectures that it has been given for treating the diarrhea, and it has the action on how it affects, because it affects on the GI smooth muscles, and that is responsible for slowing the gastric peristalsis and then slowing the gastric emptying, and or by slowing the propulsive peristaltic movement or delaying the bowel emptiness. As a result we can able to stop that diarrhea. So the drug that commonly used is loperamide, or the other drugs like diphenyl oxalate is the example in this case. It is also used for treating the shivering and helps reduce the shivering, like meperidine is the most significant example, and it acts on the alpha-2 adrenal receptor subtype. So thank you so much for today's lecture. Hope to see you again.